You're listening to audio from University Baptist Church in Beaver Creek, Ohio. Our mission is to make wholehearted followers of Jesus Christ who know him and make him known. Please enjoy this podcast and visit us at ubcbeavercreek.com for more information.
Welcome into UBC Talking Points. Our purpose is to make wholehearted followers of Jesus Christ who know him and make him known through ministry and theology conversations. I'm your host, Bryson Jackson, and today I am joined by one of our staff/elder couples, Bill and Cathy Letcher. Bill, Cathy, how are we doing today?
Hey, Bryson, we're doing good.
We're doing good. Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you guys on here. Obviously, I've known each other for a few years now, and I've had the blessing, Bill in particular, of lots of relational time, but also Cathy over the years, lots of different things that we've been able to be involved in together. So grateful for ministry partnership and being able to serve this church together.
Absolutely.
So today we are going to be particularly digging into building healthy marriages. And Bill and Cathy, just if you want to share just quick, hey, how long you've been married and just some brief things like that. And then we'll dig into our opening question.
Yeah. Well, we're Bill and Cathy, been married for 25 years. This June will be 26. It's just been so fun to be married and going through all the different life challenges and different joys and things like that. It's a joy to be in a marriage with you, hon.
And 4 kids?
Oh, yes. We have 4 kids.
Okay. Awesome. And you guys as well, one of your roles here is being able to work with couples in our church that are wanting to get married, or different ones as well that are saying, hey, we'd like some help with marriage counseling and some things like that. So we just thought that we'd kind of turn that into a podcast. So here we go. Let's talk about it. But before we dig into our main dialogue and content, let's do this one. I'm sure you guys have all kinds of stories, and it's probably hard to narrow it down, but what is one of your funniest marriage stories?
Yeah, we were thinking about this when you asked us this question, and one of the most recent ones is when we moved here to Ohio, and in the process of buying a house, and we bought a foreclosure. And if you've ever been through the foreclosure buying process, it is not normal by any means.
It's the worst.
And so we had bought the house, worked with an incredible realtor, and so we were driving, coming back from the closing on the house, and we had grabbed some dinner, and so then we were going to go back by the house, and at the closing we didn't get a key, and so we had told the people, leave the house unlocked, and as soon as we get dinner, we're going to come back. We arrive at the house, and the house that we had just purchased 2 hours before was locked, and we don't have a key, and so we had to, in a new neighborhood and everything, break into our own house. The electricity wasn't on in the house, and so we're using the car headlights. It was so gangster. But we got in, and it was great.
Mm-hmm. So we're walking around in this house with a flashlight because it was dusk, and we needed to fix the electricity because we couldn't have the electric turned on until we fixed these exposed wires. So we're walking around in a dark house with a flashlight, and none of the neighbors knew that we had purchased the house yet.
Yeah,
so
it sat empty for 2 years.
It was a little nerve-wracking.
It was great. So nobody called the police. It was a win.
Did you have your kids with you when you were doing this?
No, we didn't have any kids with us either.
No, it was wintertime. It was cold. And it was just one of those surreal, funny things. So, but it's great. We've been there for many years now.
Memory building.
So definitely. You look around the house and you're like, I remember when we first got into this house.
Yeah, well, and
exactly.
I know how to very successfully to break into the house if I ever need to again.
Well, we replaced the locks too.
Oh yeah, we did do that too. That was good. So don't break into our house.
So if anybody needs any help with that, you guys know who to contact. Bill and Cathy, they'll help you out.
Yeah, that's on that job description of all other duties as assigned.
There you go. The random sketchy stories of that was crazy, but that's kind of fun. Oh, that's great. And obviously marriage, when it comes to big life choices like that, like buying a new house and, moving someplace and doing things like that. It's you never know what you're going to encounter, but we're doing it together.
Yep.
So it's all right.
Adventures.
Here we go. So we're going to dig into specifically our content today is what it takes to build a healthy marriage. And, by God's grace, you guys have been a wonderful example to Skylar and I know to many other couples in our church. So we just kind of want to talk through some helpful definitions and some basic content for people who are thinking either about marriage or those who are currently working through that together. And so hopefully this can be edifying. But let's start here specifically with some helpful definitions. Obviously, we're not going to dig into a lot of the cultural war that's going on around marriage right now in America, but just some helpful definitions here. What is marriage at its core biblically, and why is it such an important concept for believers to get right?
Yeah, when the couples come to us and they want to get married and looking for some pre-marriage mentoring, counseling, some of the definitions, I wrote this down of what we share with them. Marriage, we say it's a God-established covenantal promise made between one man and one woman. And it's for the purpose of serving God in companionship, unity, and mutual support for as long as you both shall live. It's a way to serve God together for a Christian couple. And we give this idea that you need to be equally yoked for that purpose. Not only just you're both believers, but also you're both heading in the same general direction in regards to what life goals are, passions, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you got the concepts there of purpose. You use the term covenant promise. So in that there's a trajectory that the two of you are working towards. You talked about a way to serve God together. What are some of the key distinguishing, what should be some of the key distinguishing aspects of a Christian marriage versus a non-Christian marriage?
Yeah, Christian marriage versus non-Christian marriage. You're focused on keeping your relationship with God individually, the most important thing in your life. And then together, if two people are both individually keeping Jesus at the center of their lives, then together they can come together. And then as a couple, a married couple, united, then they can together keep Jesus at the center of their relationship.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's helpful. That's good. Yeah, and obviously, you mentioned as well that this is something that the Lord established as His plan and purposes for men and women together in the Garden of Eden. And the Bible has a lot to say about, Christian marriage and some of these different things. So that's good. So with that in mind, obviously, we have cultural definitions of marriage and the way that men and women ought to work together. But then biblically, right, as our church, we take a complementarian position, which essentially means that men and women serve in different functions and roles, but they complement one another. So essentially, our church believes that men and women are equal in value but different in roles. So what are some of the key ways that you two seek to serve one another in the way God has designed you, as we talk about the way that God has designed marriage, and then how that has played out practically for you guys? What are some thoughts that you guys have on that?
Yeah, I love how Jeremy in men's ministry will use the terms, men are designed to be, to lead their wives, to love their wives, to be the protector and the provider for their wives. That's how that's the role we can see in Scripture of how God's designed that. My job is to put, like with other places in Scripture, I'm supposed to put my wife's interests above my own. Man, as men, we can be so selfish, and that's not what God wants us to do. Look out for her interests more important than my own. So that's one of those things that I'm supposed to be doing in my role. Also, I've learned this, and this is a growing thing, understanding her perspective and what she values when leading us through decisions. It's a poor leader who will just go and just make this high-level decision without considering those that it's going to affect. So even though we may disagree on a decision, my job is to understand, to really dig in and figure out why she's concerned or passionate about a particular thing, and really to be able to, so that then that helps me to make that better decision as well as I'm praying through things and ultimately, having to make that final decision on some tough calls.
Being that good leader, right, necessitates being able to listen and being able to be sensitive to the needs of your wife. And yeah, I love that. That's a good reminder. The protector leader role is what God has designed you to be, but at the same time, there's a way in which you can lead and leave your wife in the dust.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's true too. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Like it probably should be a good ratio when trying to understand our wives.
Cathy, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. I guess as I am processing, trying to, through the years, try to become or be a godly wife. Some things that I've tried to do is provide a safe, a welcoming place for him to land. So when he comes back from work, making it a place where he wants to come home to. We kind of have through the years made a practice of greeting each other at the door. I don't even remember when that started. But when each of us come home, if he's come home from work or wherever he is, we stop what we're doing, even the kids do, but we stop what we're doing and we go to the door and we greet him and give him a hug and a kiss and let him know that we're glad he's home. Aww. So, and he does the same for me too. When I come home, he meets me at the door. And I feel like that is just something that shows each other value and respect. Like I want to honor him and I want to, show respect for him. Also trying to create a place where I don't bombard him with things when he first walks in the door. I've spent the day with the kids or, had issues come up and I try to wait and kind of gauge how he's doing, like just to, I guess, gauge when is the right time if I need to bring something up, when is the right time to do that. So that he can kind of mentally decompress after a long day of work. That is not something that, I'm like, it doesn't happen every day, but that's my ideal. Like, you know what I strive to do?
You really do. You do a good job with that.
I'm not perfect. And, when our kids were little, we definitely had noise when he was coming home and, the toys everywhere and glad you're home, honey. Can you take the kids? I've had it, but on the whole, this is what I strive to do. And just realizing, through the years, we've had to make some big decisions with jobs, like what job should he take, moving across the country, different big decisions that we do wrestle through and talk through. But ultimately, he is the one that makes that decision. And so just giving him space to do that and realizing that like he's the one that's answers to God for how he leads our family. And so just letting him have the time and the space to do that and supporting him along the way. So those are some things that I try to, as we seek to serve one another, try to create that space for our family to have those things.
Cathy, you were pushing on something there on that last one that I think is honestly very, very difficult for a lot of women in marriage. What would you say to a woman who would come to you and say, "Hey, I'm having a hard time with that concept of what it looks like to walk in a submissiveness in marriage." What would you say? How would you counsel? Maybe their husband isn't making good decisions. How would you counsel somebody who is in that type of a situation?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're both sinners, right? We both struggle. And it is not so much, yes, there is a part where, yes, you're trusting your husband to make a good decision for you and your family, but really it is ultimately trusting God.
That's helpful.
Because we have to step back and we have to trust God with the process. And that's where, it has been a learning experience along the way, 25 years of marriage. And do I really, along the way, trust him to know everything that I want him to know about the situation? But ultimately, my trust needs to be in the Lord first and foremost, because I believe God's going to lead him too. So just trusting that. I definitely have, after, being married for 25 years, it's easier to say that because we've walked a journey together, that I've been able to develop that trust more and more. Obviously, I think when you're first married, that might be a little bit more difficult to have that amount of trust just because of the amount of time you've spent together. Is the longer you spend together, the deeper and more you trust each other. But I think that's ultimately where your trust needs to lie, like in the Lord, and just keeping your eyes more focused on Him than on the earthly relationships that we have, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's helpful. So what are some ways that like those roles have been challenged for you guys? How has that how has that way of serving one another, Bill, that you talk about, or way of submitting to one another, Cathy, that you're talking about, like how have those things been challenged, through family life?
Yeah, I mean, you've just got to live long enough to just go through different seasons that happen, when you're young and before you have kids. Like there's certain difficulties and things as you're trying to learn about each other and all. Sometimes I say, like, life's difficulties sometimes happen because we shoot ourselves in the foot. Like we did a bonehead decision, and now we live in a sowing and reaping world. So, hey, we have to pay for that. Other times we get shot in the foot through no fault of our own. There are just things. We live in a broken world, so there's hard things that just happen in life, and it's great to have somebody to walk through those things with. We wrote down just a couple things, like opportunities for us to be able to truly serve one another. People say, marriage is a 50-50 thing. Like everybody needs to be chipping in. It's like, I don't believe that. Marriage is 100% and 100%. But there are seasons when one or the other spouse has to chip in more. And we just wrote down a couple of those things. Cathy, what's one you wrote down?
Well, miscarriages. We went through a lot of miscarriages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Through the years.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's super hard.
I mean, in 2015, you were diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a word you never want to hear. I remember, just that initial, we were sitting outside the hospital and, doctor said, pretty sure it's cancer. Let's do a biopsy. We'll find out, this was on a Thursday or Friday. Well, we'll let you know on Monday. And I'll never forget, we were sitting outside in the van, and both shell-shocked, walked out there. We prayed, and then I said, started the car, and I said, the first song that comes on the radio, because we were tuned to Christian radio, first song that's going to be that comes on is going to be really, really significant. And kicked on the radio, and it was Matt Redman, Never Once Did We Ever Walk Alone, God, You Are Faithful. And that was just kind of that one of those anchor phrases and songs that we wrote on the whiteboard in our kitchen, during that path. But yeah, there's just different things, that you went through, going through that, and me on the supporting spouse side. And that's given us a voice into other people's lives. But yeah, it's, we didn't cause that, didn't want that, just one thing we're going through.
Well, and that's a situation where you carried most of the burden. I'm in bed for 4 days and, everything was on you. So we've had seasons of life where, you had a hip surgery, and so I'm carrying most of it, and
Quite literally.
Different things, yes, where you're using a walker.
That was embarrassing. Well, I mean, we've even had things like when your brother passed away from cancer, a few years after that also, and that was just hard, and we walked through that as a family. Mm-hmm. Even
and you losing your parents.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
we just realized those times helped us to pray together more, to just be together more, give grace to each other when we felt like we were doing most of the work, I guess, just giving grace to each other and helping each other carry those burdens and seeking others to help us as well, definitely.
Yeah, I love that verse where it says, we're supposed to, I paraphrase things, but we're supposed to carry our own backpacks, but we're supposed to bear each other's burdens, those boulders that come in life. Mm-hmm. And man, what a joy it is to walk through life having somebody on your team, that truly loves you when it's hard. It's not even hard to love. It
doesn't look pretty.
It just doesn't look pretty, yeah.
When it doesn't look pretty.
But sticking it out, and it's a joy.
Cathy, how long did you battle cancer?
I had a full year of treatment.
Okay.
And then did some therapies afterwards, but 10 years cancer-free.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Yay.
I know. It was a full year.
This is year 10.
We homeschooled during that time. So we actually, counted on quite a few. There was so many people that helped us carry that as well. So
Yeah, God,
from family and friends and
there's
church.
so many stories just of God providing and providing and providing. Like that's a whole podcast in and of itself.
Well, obviously, when life hits us, there are different ways that people handle things. And every marriage obviously deals with various moments of conflict, when we butt heads, when we don't see eye to eye. But what are a few healthy ways that you might encourage couples to work through conflict?
Yeah, we wrote down just a couple things like active listening, seek first to understand and then to be understood. Again, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. I think showing grace is important too, realizing that everybody's not going to have a perfect day all the time, and to show grace with that. One thing that we really try to value is when we hear something, our first response is to think the best. And that's hard sometimes, especially when there's, maybe history or whatever it might be, but to think the best. And
not
then
get easily offended.
Yeah, not easily offended.
Which is hard sometimes, but thinking the best.
Yeah. And like Cathy said, the first 5 minutes of the day, really keeping that line of communication open. If the first 5 minutes of the day, or first 5 minutes that you get home or that you see each other, that you share, you spend, you stand no more than 5 feet apart and you share a few things, 5 things, about your day, each one of you. And just taking that, it just takes intentional time. What about you, Cathy?
Yeah. I would say don't get easily offended, even though it's hard. Don't, sometimes we can prepare all these conversations in our head of how it's going, this argument is going to go, or this is what I want to say. But like Bill said, listen first to understand. And it might surprise you some of the insight that they already have maybe into the conflict that you might find some common ground to be able to work on. One thing through the years is, sometimes we have disagreements closer to bedtime. And, the famous verse that says, don't go to bed, don't let the sun
go down on your wrath.
Yeah. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Yes. And, so you want to try to work things out before at least we did, before we laid our head down on the pillow. And sometimes it's like you just start talking in circles. And so eventually, and you're tired. So eventually we have come, to where we will agree to disagree right now so that we can get a good night's sleep. And that just gave us peace that, okay, we're going to revisit this in the morning or whenever, it's appropriate in our day. We're just going to revisit it, and we're still on the same team. We still love each other. We're going to work this out. One thing that we have definitely done through the years is try to realize we're on the same team. Things that we have said to other people, like the enemy is not out. The enemy is not sitting across the table from us. The enemy is out there. So we are on the same team, and divorce is never an option. Like that is just one word that we took out of our vocabulary is we want to commit this marriage to the Lord. We are committed to each other, and whatever comes our way, we're going to figure out trust the Lord to figure out a way to work it out. So that is just some of the things that we've dealt with conflict along the way. Like I said, greet each other at the door. I would say this with my kids too. When they get up in the morning, the first thing I do is give them a hug so that I have a good relationship established with them if I need to correct them sometime during the day. Not that applies to marriage, but I'm saying, the first time I see him, I want our first interaction to be a good interaction. Like that lays a good foundation for the rest of our days. So sometimes I'm still sleeping when he leaves the house, so all I get is a kiss. But when he comes home at the end of the day, I can give him a hug and just have more time with him. So
that's good. I think that that some of those underpinnings that you've talked about when it comes to dealing with conflict of just like, okay, divorce is not an option, right? And so we know that we're in this for the long haul. And so we're seeking to reconcile, not just seeking to be heard. right? And so seeking to understand one another, seeking to be unified together, seeking to serve the Lord together, like having those things at the forefront, I do think, man, it makes all the difference in, like, you're not just running through an argument to tell, you're running through a circumstance or a situation to try to better understand one another. So yeah, that's good. Well, let's take a quick break, and we will come back on a few more items here, and we'll be right back. All right, we are back, and man, this has been fun. We've talked about some good things already, and we've got some more fun things on the docket. So here we go. We're going to talk about parenting here. So you guys have 4 kids. Talked about this already. How old are your kids now?
Carly is 21. Kara is 19, soon to be 20 here in a couple weeks. Kayla is 15, and Billy is 13.
Okay. So we've got some teenagers. We've got some college students. Interesting season. All right. So obviously, children are a blessing from the Lord. But, as we talked about with conflict, there can be challenges that life throws at us. So what have been some of the growth areas for you as a couple as you parent your children together? What does that look like for you guys?
Well, we were talking about when we were first parents, going back to when they were little. And one of the things that I had to learn was not to be in control of what Bill did with our kids. So I don't know.
What did I do with our kids?
I don't even know if other moms feel that. But, with the first one, I
felt
like
Are we talking like ice cream runs? Or
no.
like...
No. I just felt like things had to be a certain way. And so I realized, there's 2 of us. God has given her 2 parents. And I'm realizing all the strengths that Bill did have. Like, I mean, it was amazing, and just not, I guess I am one to like to be in control. So, just letting both of us have strengths and weaknesses. So just letting us complement each other, in parenting. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
How about you, Bill? Any thoughts?
We have 4 children who survived parenting, so I did a couple things right, hon.
I think we're okay.
I don't know.
We survived.
But Kathy's point's true.
did
Like
great.
each parent has different strengths. So I cannot be a mom. Like Kathy has done a great job with that. She can't be a dad because that's how God made us. And man, it's just. But having both parents all in is good. Be on the same page. That's something like a unified front. Specifically, like as they get older and they get electronic devices or they get friends and their friends are outside, of your home and they're going to different activities. But like social media and school, the Kathy and I need to be on the same page, at least have talked about it before we go to make a decision with the kids. I think praying together with our kids regularly is important. And we've tried to do that over the years, not only when they're super, super little and not only at the dinner table, but like long term. When they go to bed at night, like Deuteronomy 6, like teach these things to your children when they rise up, lie down, walk along the road, go to soccer practice. That was lost in Scrabble transmission. But like all these things, do it all the time because we're realizing too, like 2 are out of the house, out of our primary role of influence, and 2 are still in the house. But to really be intentional with that. Doing devotions with our kids. There's a story. We had an other youth leader who, like, he and his early teenage son, like they were like ready to kill each other, like button heads, whatever. And it's a man named Orville. And he said, I didn't know what else to do, but we just started reading the Bible every night and praying. And he said that transformed their relationship. And he shared that with us when our kids were super, super little, knowing that teenagers, life would be coming forward. And that made a real impact on us. There was a really tough season with one of our kids early on when they were just coming into adolescence. And Kathy just became very intentional about, I'm just going to do devotions, with our child, intentionally working through books. Like you did such a good job with that. And we continue to do that with our kids even to this day.
There was a season of life where we were not getting along, and I just felt
you and our daughter.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not us. Yes, my oldest.
We've never had a season like that.
With my oldest child, her and I were not getting along, and so that was we were talking with Orville, and that was an advice that just resonated with us. And so I found a devotional and started digging in, and we did that for 6 years. And through the years, it just really transformed into a time of just listening to each other and having deep conversations about what she's going through. And just really, we went every year, we picked a different devotional to go through. And it was a season of, where I want to grow in this or I want to grow in that. And so we picked a devotional to help us. One season she wanted to listen more to the Holy Spirit. And so we picked a devotional on that. And just being able to have that specific time with her, every night, it does take time. And there were many times where I was very tired, and I would tell Bill, I am extremely tired, but he's like, it's worth it. And I'm like, I know it's worth it. And now she's out of the house, and it was worth it. So just to give them intentional time every day.
Somebody told us a long time ago that your kid will talk to you at some point during the day. You just need to be awake, because it might be at midnight or it might be at 7 a.m, but be available and be intentional. That's some of the things that we heard from parents. We've tried to talk to parents who are maybe 5-10 years down the road from us in parenting and just say hey, what did you do well? What are some things that you would have done differently? But to be just intentional with that. We've done that even with our own marriage. Find couples who have been married a little bit longer than us. Church is a great place to find people who have been there, done that. And they will tell you, one couple, they're like, we don't have any answers, but we can compare notes. And I thought that was so,
That's true. It was
when John
wonderful.
and Stephanie shared that.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we don't have it figured out. But we know that with us, even with you guys or with other younger couples at church, whether they have kids or not, we have some experience that God's given us, the truth of Scripture, in a local church family to be able to pass some of those things on as they go through the different seasons that are in life.
Right. And it has been through trial and error. Sometimes we have definitely
it's like
had to learn.
Thomas Edison, 100 ways to know not to make a light bulb. So we okay with that.
Yeah.
So Bill, at the beginning of this conversation, you said something about how you guys had to be a unified front. And all of a sudden, it was giving me this mindset of you guys putting together a wartime strategy for parenting.
I
wish it was that easy, but
not quite that visual, but unified. Seriously, figure it out. Behind closed doors first, and then go out and approach the kids.
Yeah, because the kids will go back and forth.
Oh, they
definitely.
If they know they're going to get
one another.
Yeah, if they know they're going to get one answer from dad, then they're coming to mom.
Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. And usually our answer to them is, let me talk with dad first. Let us talk about it, and then we will let you know our decision.
Yeah, somehow all the children go to this war college mentality of divide and conquer. That's what they try to do, and you do. You got it, and you get tired, and you're like, oh, I don't care anymore. But it's no, what's the best for you?
Yeah.
But being unified with your spouse is really important.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about being all in. So both partners in the marriage being all in on the parenting. So Bill, let me just ask you a quick follow-up question. As one who has been out of the house a lot, and Cathy, homeschooling, so with the kids a lot. So Bill, what does it look like for you to be all in as the dad when you are with your family?
Yeah. So sometimes when you come home and you walk into an environment that's not good, there's tension, instantly I'm a problem solver. So I want to go and be go sit in the corner, this kid, go do that, apologize to your sibling, and great, I fixed it. And then a little bit later on, Cathy will be like, that's not at all what was happening. And so for me, being able to walk in, understanding that I don't know everything, but then also there's so many distractions in life. You look at over movies and sitcoms, and we get examples of people who stay out late at the bars because they don't want to come home at nighttime because there's tension or whatever. But parenting's a privilege. And to be intentional, I think that's the word that I like using. Just be intentional in just being present, because there's so many things that can distract us. And daggone it, put your phone down.
That's good.
Like, put your phone down, turn off Netflix and turn off Roku, and just be together as a family. Like, there's so many, even like watching the media just in general, but there's nothing like sitting down at the kitchen table after dinner to play a board game or something. Just
He does really well at that too.
Being present, because the older that we get, there's more and more things in a ministry that's growing, and a lot of things. Man, I don't want to be the guy who once my kids are out of the house looks back and says, man, I didn't spend enough time with my kids.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to do that. So, and the time to work through that is now.
That's really good. Did you guys guard your family meal times, like dinner?
Oh, yes.
Pretty closely?
We do. We sit down at the table and have supper. We try to the majority of the nights of the week. There were certain nights, but we had to switch our schedules to be able to make that happen. Like, sometimes it's like, when are we going to sit down, with sports and everything? Sometimes we ate later than a normal average family.
Yeah, some of those families will be like, the fall sports season where we eat dinner at 3 p.m. or 8 p.m.
Yes,
a lot of times it's 8 p.m.
Yep, and a lot of times it's 8. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I grew up in a home where like family dinner time was valuable. Dad worked an odd railroad schedules, but when he was home, we had dinner together as a family. And we've tried to, in your family as well, it's important. And so
No phones at the table.
Yeah, no phones at the table.
We're
They
going to
stay in
have
the
a
kitchen.
conversation.
Yeah, sometimes the kids will try to sneak in an electronic device, and it's like, nope, we're not doing that. Nope, no phones at the table.
Right.
And for
so
that
just some
time that we're
things
there.
to guard our family time, and just to be intentional with our kids, to see their eyeballs. Like, that's, look them in the face, and for them to see us as well, so that we can have a meaningful conversation.
And we're giving them an example of one day when they establish their own homes, that like this is what mom and dad did, and they will take the good and they will hopefully leave the bad. But like, they have a front row seat to what it is to be in a house and a family. And so we really want them to take the things that we deem are important, the things that we think God would want us to do, and it's using that in the establishment of their own homes.
Yeah. Yeah, and they know who you are.
Well, they have, like he said, they have a front row seat. And so we try to really be big on conversations. Just if they saw something, Bill and I just agreeing about something.
Never.
Just to, if they were in the room, just to talk through that, type of conversation. Yeah. I mean, obviously they don't need to know every little detail if it's a sensitive topic, but just to be aware that they're around, and if it is a sensitive topic, to discuss it, privately.
And there's times when my reaction to many things has not been godly, and it's been sinful. And so once I cool down or come to my senses, it's very humbling to go back and to just say, hey, kids, family, I messed up. I got angry, shouldn't have said what I did. I'm wrong. Like, I'm sorry. I've sinned against God. I've sinned against you. I've asked him for forgiveness. Now I'm asking you for forgiveness. Will you forgive me? Because again, that's modeling. First of all, it's obeying God. Secondly, it's modeling for your kids what you want them to do with their siblings. And then as they establish it, they need to observe that at home to realize, like, we're not perfect people, but like Jesus offers forgiveness and what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very humbling to apologize to your kids, but it's needed, and it's just a good example.
Yeah, it's discipleship.
Yeah.
That's great.
So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that conversation, and I have a number of other questions percolating in the back of my mind, but I will refrain, and we'll take a couple minutes here to talk about one last subject, and then we'll wrap it up. But I want to ask you guys just one question, and you guys can kind of tease this out a little bit, but a lot of marriages struggle specifically with money. And obviously, Jesus said, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And so when we think about the decision-making paradigm, right, in our families and in our marriages, money can be a big point of tension. So what does money management look like for you guys? And what are some practical tips and thoughts that you would share with other couples?
Yeah, when we first got married, like we had a 3-page Excel spreadsheet of like any imaginable expense. I did.
Yeah, Kathy, did you ever get a look at that one?
Yes.
Well, yes, he showed me all the time.
And I loved
It
it.
just wasn't how I was wired up.
Honey, look at this.
He loved it.
But to really establish in those early years, like you do need to, every single penny, like where's it going, and really, budget. You use that resource for the glory of God. We went through Financial Peace University so much we liked it, we took it twice. But it gives you a common language, which is really important.
That was helpful.
And we share that in our premarriage counseling with couples as well. Like one of you is going to be better with money than the other one, and that's okay. Yes. But at least it gives you common language. One thing we share with couples is don't expect in the early years to have your parents' lifestyle when you first get married. Mm-hmm. Like you move out, maybe you're moving out of home and moving in, with or getting married and living with your spouse. Many times we have that expectation of like, we want to live at what mom and dad's level of living was. Mm-hmm. And honestly, they didn't live at their level of living when they first got married either. So we say act your wage. Don't act your age, act your wage. And again, there's different seasons. You've got the diapers and all the sicknesses and diseases sometimes when they're young. We're in the cars in college phase of life where like everything's expensive as well. But I think the big thing is just like you're going to struggle at times financially, but struggle together. Don't make accusations. Don't blame. It is our money. It's not my money or Kathy's money. It's our money. And we're supposed to be stewards of that, for the glory of God, to help, make disciples and take care of our own family as well.
Yeah. In the early years, we decided I wasn't going to work outside the home, even before homeschooling. So that looked a little differently because, I didn't have necessarily income coming in, but there was ways that I could help, with coupons or having home-cooked meals or, instead of eating out, and just being a good steward of the things at home. And then there were years where we, as our kids grew, had more expenses with them, sports and everything, where we did have to have extra jobs just to make the income that we needed. And so just being supportive of that, if the spouse is out of the house more, or, like he said, struggle together because we're a team working for a common goal. And so there were times that we've had decisions, what can we cut out of our budget because it's not all fitting, and what's important, what's a priority for us, and what can we let go of. And those are good decisions because then it helps us reprioritize and what is truly important. So, and once we have that priority list, we can put all our efforts into this is what the Lord wants us to do. Tithing was huge. That's something that has never been a question for us. That's, that has always been a part of our budget. And so honoring God with our money. And there's been times where you lost your job and because of financial cuts. And I remember coming to you, we were trying to get our house ready to sell. And I remember, all our bills were paid. God has faithfully always provided for us. We've never went without at all. But I remember coming to you, it's like, we have $30 in the checking account. Let's not spend anything else right now, and just trusting God during those times where he had to provide, and he did. He was very faithful. So just trying to be good stewards of what God's given us.
Yeah, there's just been times where, there was $30 in the checking account and stuff like that. I'm reminded of the verse, and you go through different seasons in life where one person is trusting God more, and just we all worry about things, part of our sinful, broken nature. And I'm reminded of where Jesus said, like, don't worry about tomorrow. And he said, consider the sparrows. Like, which one of them goes hungry? And a friend of mine's like, have you ever seen an anorexic bird? He said, no, you won't, unless it's sick or something like that. But he goes, you don't see anorexic birds. Why? He goes, because God takes care of them. Aren't you a little more important than the birds? And your heavenly Father knows exactly what you need.
Not anorexic birds.
You don't have anorexia. You don't see them. So once you start seeing a bunch of anorexic birds, God's not taking care of them. And that's the way with us as well. Like God meets our needs.
Yes, he has always been faithful. Absolutely.
You love my analogies.
Oh, man.
There's always one.
Yeah, for those listening, at some point, just ask Bill for some good analogies. There's all kinds of random ones that he'll throw at you, and it's a joy.
So fun. Life is analogies.
Really quick, before we leave the money topic, if you guys were counseling a couple that came to you, they both had jobs and they both had their own checking accounts, what would you guys say about that?
Combine them.
Yeah, combine them.
And why?
We have told them that before because
combine them. Why?
Yeah, because it's our money, not his or her money. It would be very difficult to have the mindset of being on a team if you have two separate places. I don't know. To me, that might be hard to be working towards common goals. That's just how we've always, approached it. We were able to see each other's. I guess we have one checking account, so we've both been on it.
There's accountability. And then, but again, assume the best. Well, why did the grocery store cost $350 this month? I remember saying stuff like that.
Yes, you did.
And you're like, number one, groceries are expensive. Our family's growing. Inflation.
Come shopping with me.
But also, secondly, they had some really good deals, and so I stocked up on some stuff that was really, really good. But for me to come in and make an accusation, it's bad. Having a same checking account also helps reduce selfishness because it's not, again, like she said, not my money, your money, it's our money. And so everything, again, it's that unified, it's our problems, it's our blessings, it's our money that God gives to us to steward. So yeah, we would definitely say have that single checking account together for your primary stuff so that everybody knows what's going on.
That's good. All right. Final question. When you guys share in marriage mentorship situations, what's one of the most important pieces of advice that you share with couples wanting to get married? Maybe just pick one.
One of the things that Bill faithfully says is conflict is inevitable, but combat is optional. So that's one of his quips.
That's helpful.
Yeah. Realizing, like Cathy said, show grace to each other, realizing you're on the same team. Don't settle things lightly or settle things quickly. Don't go to bed angry. Those kinds of things. Keep short accounts, I guess, is the big thing too. And realizing, like what she said, the person sitting across the table, like the person that you gave a wedding ring to or going to give a wedding ring to, they're not the enemy. The enemy is out there trying to do everything: seek, kill, destroy, totally train wreck, anything, devour anything that God has established. So. But yeah, fight for your spouse, not with your spouse.
That's good.
And I would say another thing is, as you grow in your relationship with one another, show each other grace in a way that helps them grow. Give them space to grow in their relationship with the Lord and relationship with you. Because sometimes when we're first married, we're trying to figure each other out. We're trying to understand what makes them tick, and so that we can encourage them, or ways that we can encourage them, ways that we can love them, all those things. And we grow and learn throughout the years. And so just giving them grace to grow in their relationship with the Lord, to celebrate the victories, to come alongside and pray with them during the hard times. That we're just all on, we're striving to honor God. Both of us are striving to honor God in our relationship with each other.
Yeah, and even before you're a married couple, right? You're brothers and sisters in Christ. And so recognizing that component is just to say, man, I want to leverage my life, to help my spouse grow. And what does that look like practically? That's good. Well, Bill, if there are couples in our church that are wanting to work through, things going on in their marriage, or maybe a couple that has recently got engaged and wants to think through marriage, what are some resources and ways that UBC tries to help people like that?
So Cathy and I have had the privilege of walking with several couples through pre-marriage counseling. We call it pre-marriage mentoring. We meet together a lot. It's a lot of hard work, but we feel like it helps prep them for the most important human decision, apart from salvation, that they're ever going to make, is getting married. So they can reach out to the church at bill.letcher@ubcbeavercreek.com. Shoot me a message. See me at church. Be happy to encourage you guys. See if we can set up a time. And if Cathy and I, we have limited time, so if there's other people that we can connect you with as well. For couples who have come to a point where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they don't know where else to turn, some of the most important blessings in marriage for us has been talking to couples who've, again, they're further down the path than us, and they can just speak truth into our lives. We would love to meet with you all. I'd love to hear what's going on, give you solid biblical advice for things. And we have a good team of people here at UBC who, again, whether they're on staff or not, ministry leaders, just other godly couples in the church that would love to walk through and spiritually encourage and help you to establish keeping Jesus at the center of your life and then in the life of your relationship with your spouse.
That's good. Thanks, Bill. We'll make sure to put those things in the podcast notes so that you can take a look. But yeah, extremely grateful, Bill and Cathy, for the way that you guys invest in our church. And thank you guys for coming on and being a part of this conversation. So my friends, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for coming on, and thankful for the opportunity to think through marriage relationships. I hope that this has been helpful for you, our listeners. And I also will just say to our listeners today, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this podcast, and please share if this has been helpful for you. We want this to be a resource for you and for others that are wanting to think through important concepts in the church and in our families. So I hope that you would consider how the Lord might use you to make him known in your home, your community, and the world. We'll see you next time on another episode of Talking Points.